Hey guys, it's Miss Black with another art tutorial, and since it's been so long since I've seen you, this is actually going to be 3 projects in one video, and you can choose to do one, you can choose to do all, you can choose to just be inspired by this and create your own thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to learn about 3 different artists. You can learn about it briefly with me here, but I'm also going to be posting videos about these artists on my website, so you can watch those and learn about them as well. The first one I want to talk to you guys about is an artist who was called Louise Bourgeois, and she was a French artist who quite recently just passed away. She was almost 100 years old, and she was called the Spider Woman. And the idea for a couple of these artists is from this book here by Marion Duchers. And she's got a bunch of these books I think I've mentioned before, but this book is all about artists and really cool ideas you can do that talk about those artists and help you to understand those artists. So the first one we're going to look up is Louise Bourgeois, like I just said, and that's her right here. They called her the Spider Woman. Louise Bourgeois was born in France in 1911. She moved to America in the late 30s, so the 1930s, and turned to sculpture. So she started building things that were 3D. You could walk around it. She's most well known for her spider sculptures called maman, which maman in French means mother. Okay, this one right here is called maman. Why the spider? Because my best friend was my mother, and she was deliberate, neat, clever, patient, indispensable, and useful as a spider. So all of those things are her opinion of a spider. And she doesn't think, or didn't rather, because she's no longer living, but she didn't think spiders were scary. They just reminded her of her mother and how amazing her mother was with her when she was young, becoming an artist, and then after she became an artist, all of the support that her mother gave her. So this project is coming from this book, and you're gonna really, it's a whole bunch of fun. All you're gonna need is some water media, and media is a type of thing you use to create your artwork. A medium could be a pencil, a medium could be a crayon, but what we're going to use is a water medium, and so that means that you have to be able to use water with it, or it has to be a liquid sort of thing. It has to be really thin so this can work. But what you're going to do is you're going to make your own spiders, and I would suggest using black. So if you have watercolor at home, you can just use the black of that watercolor. Today I'm just going to be using some India ink. Okay. But basically the whole project is making your own spiders, making a page of your own spiders, just like Louise Bourgeois. Okay, so I've got this paper here is what I've got. You're going to need a straw, and it doesn't have to be a big straw. You could cut it in half if you're doing this with your family. You could even cut it into like thirds. You don't need a giant straw. And then you're going to need some water media. Okay, so I'm using ink. You guys could use watercolor, anything, any sort of paint that you can thin out and make it really thin so that you can spread it. And the idea is you're going to drip that water media onto your paper and take your straw and blow on it, and it's going to create these spider-like legs onto it. And you're just going to fill your paper with it. So I'll show you guys one, and then, or maybe 2, I don't know. Maybe a whole bunch, because this is just so fun. But I'm going to take some ink, I'm going to drip it on, or if you're using paint, you're just going to drop it on there. Take your straw and then just blow it. Okay, and then the more it dries, the more these little itty bitty things will come off of it. Then it's best to kind of move your paper around. This kind of looks like a shoe right now. It's also really fun to kind of do this and see what you can come up with. So there's those really sort of crazy things. And then you can like move them around. Make it really look like spider legs. And it's just really fun. Just make sure you're taking breaths in between so you don't pass out, because if you're just blowing without breathing, then you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. So make sure that you're breathing. But it's really fun. Some artists actually do this to create like a starting point for a drawing or painting. So if you want to jump off from here, maybe not fill your page with spiders, but rather turning your ink blobs blowing into a new drawing, feel free. But you know what, I feel like I just need to do another one. So here's one here. Just keep blowing, take your breaths. And the power that you give your breath that you blow onto can change how much ink will blow. So like short, powerful breaths seem to create these really tiny lines, whereas like not as powerful breaths like this creates thicker lines. So you could think about that. That's a more short, powerful breath there, okay? So that is what this project is, all about Louise Bourgeois. We're going to move on to the next one. Oh man, I think I'm going to need to turn this into something later. The next one we're going to learn about is Paul Klee. And I think he's in this book as well. Paul Klee was an amazing artist. I love his work. Let me see, no, this is him right here. So Paul Klee. A lot of people think it's pronounced Paul Klee, and I'm not sure, but I think it's pronounced Paul Klee, so I'm going to go with that. Born in Switzerland in 1879, he was an artist, a musician, writer, and a poet, and one of the most original masters of modern art. And modern art is the type of art that you see that seems maybe very simple, really colorful, maybe something you don't quite understand sometimes, but it's really cool to look at. And then another thing I want you guys to understand about Paul Klee is Paul Klee said that drawing was like taking a line for a walk. And then sometimes in my classes you might have heard me say, let's take your dot for a walk, which creates a line, and I get that idea from Paul Klee. So he was a more abstract artist, and abstract means that you use more lines, shapes, and colors rather than anything that specifically shows something. So maybe you're not drawing so much a face, but you're creating a face with shapes or something like that. Or maybe you're not creating anything, you're just using shapes, lines, and colors, and that's it. So we're going to take a line for a walk, just like Paul Klee said, with a pencil or anything. I'm just going to use a pen today. Take your pencil for a walk without taking it off the paper, and this is called a continuous line drawing. So what I want you guys to do, and these both are good examples of a continuous line drawing, what you're going to need for this one is, once again, a piece of paper. And if you want to add color to this later, that's really awesome of an idea, but you really just need a pen and a piece of paper. And if you want to color later, maybe you can use, if you've got crayons, pastels, paints, you can use that to add to it. And this might be one that I do a time lapse on, I'm not sure yet. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your pen, your pencil, and you're also going to think about something that you care about. Okay, so you're going to draw maybe a bunch of lines, but then also try to draw something that you care about. And something that I care about are my dogs. So that's kind of the idea that I'm going to think of for this project, taking this line for a walk. But you can think about anything you want. Okay, maybe that is your family. Maybe that is something that you love to do, places you love to go. I'm just gonna do for my dog though. So I'm gonna start somewhere on the paper, and I'm not ever gonna take my pen off, even though maybe I want to go to the other side of the object or the thing that I'm drawing. I'm not going to lift my pen up to do it. So I'm going to start somewhere and start moving my pen around, taking that line for a walk. And at first it's really fun just to explore and see the types of things or the types of feelings you get as you're drawing this line, but you are not lifting your pen or pencil up. The only way that you could lift your pen or pencil up is if you need a break. So maybe you need to stretch your hands or something, go get a drink of water. But then when you're ready to go back to drawing, you're going to take your pen or pencil and go back to where you left off. Okay, so that means you cannot lift it to go to another area. You have to stay there. If you want to go to that area, you have to draw. You have to take your line for a walk over there to that area. Okay, but I'm going to start thinking about things with my dog. So my dog likes to eat. So I am going to draw her food bowl, okay? Maybe I'll draw her name on it. And you can do that. You just can't move your pen. And her name is Mona. Actually, short for Mona Lisa. Maybe I'll draw her. She's a beagle. So maybe I'll think about what she looks like. She's got long, floppy ears. She's got these soul-searching eyes that get her whatever she wants, but I am not lifting up my pen. She's got this big, long, snouty nose, and then this nose here. Well, this is more like her muzzle is what it's called, but this is like her nose, and she smells everything with it. And then she's, here maybe there's her feet. Okay, so I'm thinking about things with her. And I actually have several dogs, so maybe I'll even draw another one. I have what's called a Scottish Terrier. So maybe I will draw one of them too. So this is like maybe their collar. And you don't have to draw anything that looks specifically like that thing. If you want to draw shapes that remind you of that thing, that's fine too. So I'm just going to draw like Scotty snout. They have like these beards. And then they've got like this skirt. But I'm just maybe just going to draw shapes to show those things. And it doesn't have to be really detailed. It's just very simple. But I'm not lifting my pen up. Okay, they really like to play with little chew toys and balls. They really like food, so maybe you could even write words. Oh my gosh, you know what else they like is walks, so maybe I could draw like a little leash, a little handle, and a hook onto their harness. So really, you're just going to think about one thing. Not lift up your pencil or pen and draw lines or things that remind you of them. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, but I want to show you, and I might add more things to this and add it to a time lapse, but I want to show you one that was more finished. And with this, I'm also thinking about another artist called Mark Rothko. So I will link up a video about him in the website as well. But I'm adding color on top of it in just little blocks of color, and that's what Mark Rothko did. And in this one, I think that something that's also really important are the bees, because the bees are what help us get food. They pollinate food so that they can grow into food. They pollinate plants so they can grow into food. And so I've drawn some flowers for them to be able to survive, because they get food from flowers, from nectar, things like that. And I just never lifted up my pen, and I added color with little blocks of color. So you could add that to yours. Maybe for this one, I just do like a darker color, because this Scotty is black. Maybe this one I could do a square here that's brown and a square here that's brown, maybe some black, because that's what beagles look like. And I can add these little blocks of color to make it this more abstract drawing that's added to a painting, or you could even do it with crayons, or I've got some pastels here. And you should be able to still see those lines, but if you can't, you can go over them again. So I got this pastel here. Yeah, I can still see it okay, but you can go over it again to fix it. It kind of takes off some of that. Or if you do it with paint, it's really easy to see where you painted. And you can see through it with watercolor, as you can see on here. So that's that one. That's Paul Klee and Mark Rothko. And I'll show you guys those in a second. But that's more like two artists in one project. And then the last one I want to talk to you guys about is a Japanese artist called Yayoi. I can't remember exactly what. Yayoi Kusama. I think she's still alive even, but she is a Japanese artist that kind of started this obsession with dots. She's really well known for her dots. I don't know if she's in this one, and I don't think Mark Rothko's in this one, but let me see if she is, because it's possible. She's just an artist that's really cool, that I like to learn about. Jackson Pollock is cool. Yeah, I don't see her in here. But really, and it would be best for you to sort of check out the video that I will post, but I will show you, maybe with my screen here, some work by Yayoi. You know what? Just to limit any possibility of stopping the video on accident, I will show you some of her work on my smartphone. So Yayoi Kusama, I don't know if you can see her too well. Maybe I can zoom in. Sorry, this might make some noise. Okay, here she is. Yayoi Kusama. Let me see if I can focus. Okay, she was born in Japan. She moved from Japan to New York and started her career there, but then she went back to Japan. And so she's got some really cool just dots. Okay, and she started off this obsession with dots when she was a child, because she would go out into her fields, because her parents had like a nursery of plants, and she'd go and draw these plants and things, but then she'd also kind of see dots as she was drawing these plants and things. So she added that to her work, and when she went to New York, dots were everywhere, and then she went to all of these different places across the world, and then she went back to Japan, where they accepted her more, and created all of these different cool things. So this next project is, or this last one is just you choosing something to draw that you can add dots to, or you could just draw with dots. And you can do this with a pencil or a pen or a crayon, or you could even do this with like a brush, with ink like I was using earlier, with just any sort of paint. You just make all of these dots and create this really cool dot painting. This is another thing she's really well known for, is pumpkins. So maybe I'll draw a pumpkin for mine today. You can draw whatever you want. Excuse me. But let's see if she had these really cool, I just want to talk about this because it's so cool, but she had these really cool exhibits where she would put lights everywhere that looked like dots, and then she would put them within mirrors. So she called them her infinity mirror rooms. So this is what they looked like when you turn the lights out, but then you'd have those little dot lights. They looked like this. It looked so cool. So this project, excuse the noise here, this project is all about dots. So all you're going to need for this project is a piece of paper, something to draw or paint with, and you are going to either think of a thing or just do something with dots. Okay, I kind of like the idea of doing a pumpkin. So I'm going to do a pumpkin because she was well known for that. So I'm just going to quickly draw a pumpkin, and if you want to do this with me, cool, like I said. If not, that's cool. You're going to do your own thing. or you're going to do a project about one of these other artists, okay? But I'm just going to draw this quick pumpkin, and the best way I know how to draw a quick pumpkin is you start with this little, or whatever you call it, trunk, and then you draw a sideways frowny line, draw a bunch of bumps at the bottom, and then draw another sideways frowny line. Or if you're looking at the opposites, it's like a sideways happy line. And then inside you're going to draw these little lines like pumpkins do, and maybe you could even draw one or two bumps behind this, because this pumpkin goes all the way around, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add dots to this, and I could fill them in. Maybe I could fill them in with different colors, but I'm going to draw just so many dots, and I might do a time lapse on this too at some point, but the idea is just a bunch of dots. Okay, you can add it to the pumpkin, you can add it outside of the pumpkin, you could draw a bunch of dots and color in the negative, so the shape of the dot is positive. You could color the negative, so the outside of it, which would add a really cool thing to this. You could do little spiral dots. It's kind of like the book The Dot. I don't know if you've ever read that. I think I read it to some of you before. But you're just going to be working with so many dots and creating something that really, because dots made Yayoi feel so good to paint, you're just going to get lost in the process of making dots. And you could draw something to add dots to, because she added dots to everything, or you could just draw dots, which is really fun. Okay, and those are the 3 projects that I have for you that talk about 4 artists. I hope you guys at least choose one of them to do, and I hope you guys share it with me, because this is really fun to learn about other artists and try their things. So enjoy. I can't wait to hear from you guys, and see you guys hopefully sometime in the future. Thanks, you guys. See ya.